Now, I'm going to say without modesty that I am a highly educated musician. I know a lot about a lot of different kinds of music. But when I listen to salsa, I don't know what the heck I am hearing. And I want to spend a little time before we get further into your music to talk about this music. I need some help here. First of all, it's just so compelling. I don't think, except for maybe gamelan, I can't think of another type of music that just goes straight to my gut. It makes me a whole lot happier than the music that belongs to my culture. I'll tell you that. I listen to it and I just can't. It's like a drug for me to listen to this music. What's going on?
Uh, Basically, is I see it as the concept of Africa, which is you have a lot of uh, rhythmic cells that are happening in different places. Uh, it has also that's from the rhythmic point of view. Uh, in terms of melodies,
Mm-hmm.
melodies that are happening at the same time, and or on top of a very strong drumming culture of a mix of of flamenco music, of rumba with African music in and then with the Spanish influence of guitar. So you get that mix of flamenco music, you know, gypsy with yeah, flamenco with the African, and that mix is explosive.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. You have a bass that mostly is anticipated. Is it's a concept that I have heard it when I hear music from Morocco, when I hear music from different parts of Africa. It is an anticipation of the bass that gives a kick that is one of the elements that help, you know, have this thing so dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is the tradition of call and response uh, that is also invites not only to join as a choir, but also invites you to improvise, you know, comment on it. Yeah, it's a great combination, and also it's the product of a country that that I believe is it has a main product to export, and it's music.
Mm-hmm.
Cuban musicians,
You're talking about Cuba?
yeah, Cuban musicians have developed the music for so many years in a very steady way.
Mm-hmm.
When Cuba was the Vegas of the Americas, you know, when everyone will go to Cuba, these people were presenting this music and showing their music, and it was welcome. But also when after the revolution, uh, you find bands that rehearse every day for 8 hours because it's the only way to get out and travel the world and make some money. So being a musician is a very formal thing where you really practice all the time, and that's why you get those results and the development of now. I mean, you talk about salsa, but now they are now in what is called timba, which is is music that is very sophisticated, very intrinsic, very full of rhythm and in a higher level.
Yeah.
And very improvisatory. Almost everyone is continuously changing patterns, so it's incredible.
In salsa or in this new music?
In timba, yeah, that's
Timba.
sort of the. I just want you to take that name and listen and then
Mm-hmm.
compare it with the traditional salsa. The salsa term came from New York,
Okay.
where many Cubans came. They mixed with jazz, and then eventually 60s, 70s, there was investment on this style of music, and it revolutionized the world.
Am I correct? Salsa means sauce.
Yeah,
Is that?
yeah,
Yeah. So it's a
yeah,
mix and it's cooked and got.
exactly. It was like just a reaction from. They have the different theories to see who has who gave the name, but the idea is that, so what are you bringing the music? Yeah, we're bringing all that salsa.
Yeah.
It's just that mix.
In
Oh,
traditional in traditional salsa, how much improvising is there? I mean, how much freedom does any one player have to do something, or are you stuck in your? Do you just stick to your thing and that's it?
well, the thing. Uh, Let me go with like the piano, for instance. With piano, you have patterns called montunos. You have patterns that have to agree with what is called clave. There are patterns that go with this concept of a clave, and everything goes around that.
Right.
But you have that pattern, but then you have many possibilities of little changes that don't break, the relationship with that clave. And if you play only one pattern, the song is going to sound boring. It's going to sound mechanic. You have to be changing. So you start to develop uh, the 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 different variations, and you start to practice it, and then you start to apply them many times according to the melody, according to whatever feels with the vocals or with the horn that is playing. Um, the the bass is doing the same. So constantly it's like playing jazz. You play a pattern, but then sometimes you just open and you react. That's what makes it interesting. And I remember when I started teaching, um, I talked to Tito Puente's pianist, Sonny Bravo, and I was saying to him, you know, I want to try to see what it is. I said, you're gonna go crazy trying to transcribe. I said, that's what I'm gonna do. So I started to transcribe full montunos where it sounds like it's almost similar, but it's not. And then you start to see the little differences, and that's when you can, extract information and create exercises that allow you to start to navigate, you know, through the possibilities without without uh, clashing with other musicians and with the club.
Yeah, I want to talk about the clave a little bit. I want to explain clave to the audience because this is something I do know a little bit about, just a little. The clave, a lot of people think of it as the Bo Diddley rhythm because Bo Diddley used it in his own music, and it's bum, bum,
It's the
bum,
same,
bum,
yes,
bum,
yeah,
bum, bum, bum. Or there's two or three different kinds bum, 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 bum. And you can hear it in Bruce Springsteen and you can hear it all over.
yeah.
One of the things I was so taken by, I found out clave means key, but it doesn't mean key as in the key to a door. It means key as in you have a code and you can
Exactly.
decode with the key. So that makes the whole piece you're playing a puzzle of some kind. It's just fascinating to me.
It is, and I have to confess, sometimes I you know some people just feel it.
Yeah.
It is possible that I've been exposed to so many styles of music that sometimes if I just let myself follow the melody that is coming out of me, I might get out of clave. And so I do exercises where I confront that situation and say, okay, I'm gonna be free, but I have to be checking so I don't get out. It really bothers people if you're off clave, so they immediately feel it. Then you get
Yeah.
you
So I
get the
think
reaction.
this is the answer I've been looking for. The thing I like so much about this music is that there is freedom, but it's all locked around this clave. Um,
Yeah.
that's the thing you can't hear, but you can sense.
Yes, and when arranging or writing, that is a process for me. I'm gonna write my arrangements, and I immediately put a clave that is going, because it never changes. Once you start, that's two bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So I laid in my finale the whole clave. So I because I feel that I didn't even I grew up, I mean I grew up listening to it, but I did not. It's not part of my culture as a musician. That's what I learned from the radio first for many years.
Hmm.
So I I've been analyzing and I've been teaching a lot of salsa music out of seriously analyzing horn sections, um, just extracting rhythmic cells from different sources to try to analyze. Oh, this happens here. This doesn't happen here. Oh, there are some cells that happen in both sides of the clave. There are some that belong only to one side. There are some tendencies that you see at the end. And I go back to my comments about rhythm. If you analyze styles of music, there are rhythms that keep happening. And at the end, those rhythms are the ones that they're the ones that kind of uh, gives you the they're the ones who represent the rhythm, represent the style. There are some rhythms that I sometimes I will do libraries of analyzing. Okay, I'm gonna analyze 5 tunes in 2-3 clave, and then I start to just write rhythms 2-3, and then you start to see repetition. They continue to happen, and then they become part of the language, like in jazz.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in jazz, I guess it's less strict. I mean, you're expected to use, I think, rhythmically, melodically in jazz, you have to be more careful, probably. Harmonically in jazz, you have to be more careful. Rhythmically, I don't think people can
You,
talk about jazz very well. Even if they are good at it, I don't think there's a discussion among teachers and students so much about the rhythmic way of staying with jazz. You're just expected to listen and know how to swing and know how to adjust the feel. It's not the same. Do you
because
disagree?
no, I have to think about it because in terms of swing, that was the hardest part for me. It's
Yeah.
when you analyze, and that's really dragging. I mean, the way the way some notes are put, it's like, so I'm like, is this part of the style? People are supposed to drag. People are supposed to accent the weak beats. That gives a little bit more to the to the to the accent. But I have to say, I jazz has been studied by so many cultures, and when I hear a Colombian or a Cuban or a Puerto Rican try to swing, I hear the accent.
Yeah.
There is an example, but even he has it, which is Danilo Perez, a Panamanian pianist who played. He left everything. I feel I when I started to listen to him, I said, this guy is bringing the Latin jazz. He's bringing it. He's leading the Latin jazz scene.
Yeah.
And then he started playing with Wayne Shorter. I don't criticize him. I'm sure he had a blast
Yeah.
in all those years that he played with him. And I would say that's the closest to swing that I have heard, where I hear almost no accent. But uh, that took me to the idea of the rhythms of your language. I give you an example. People make salsa in Cali, people make salsa in Peru, people create salsa in Puerto Rico and in Cuba. They sound quite different. You could really tell which one is from, and many times it is related to the accent, the way they speak, the words they
Mm.
use, the expressions, the slangs, all these things they translate into this music, and that's rhythm. You started to say, okay, sometimes I hear somebody saying an expression with somebody from Puerto Rico, and I'd say, okay, how would I put uh, this comment? Let me find a rhythm to it, and then you could actually start to sound close to that
Ah,
with that person. The way you speak, I mean, when I took a jazz history, they talk about Memphis jazz and Chicago jazz, and I wonder
right.
if that has something to do with with the rhythm of the language, the way
Huh.
people speak.
That's fascinating. Yeah. So what you're talking about for any audience that got lost is um, saying some Spanish words with a Puerto Rican accent, and then you taking that and putting it into the music and finding you've created a Puerto Rican sound because the way we talk seems to go directly into our music. And
Yes,
yeah, I couldn't agree
yes,
more. That's a fascinating insight.
yes.
Yeah.
I I I I had had the opportunity not only because I've been playing with Puerto Ricans and Cubans and Colombians, but I also for 20 years I've been doing music for theater, and I've been working with this company, ID Studio Theater, with and this director, the artistic director Herman Jaramillo, a great actor and director. He always makes me try things. So I have worked with I have created Dominican music and Mexican music and and Cuban music, and I have had uh, people from these places saying that sounds Mexican or that sounds Cuban. And what I'm doing is I'm totally studying, the way they do things, and and then finding my own voice. Of course, is not pure, but it's they don't get offended, which makes me happy.
Yeah. One more question before we leave theory and go more to your music. When you talk about playing with the clave, what does that mean exactly? It's not just duplicating the clave. Uh, how do you define something that works with the clave and something that doesn't?
I'll give you an example. There is there is a cell that is like the default, is the beginning for piano. The two side of the clave, you're gonna hear the clave in beat 2 and 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The piano, if you wanna be in clave, or you're gonna play the downbeat of of the of the piano montuno on the two side of the clave. The clave has a rest there. The pattern is this: pa 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 pi pa pa pam pi pam pam pa pam pi pam pam. When you approach in this pattern, when you approach the three side of the clave, you have all upbeats. Pa pa ra pa 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 pa. Just with that, you could you could you could start. And if you see that written in the music, sometimes arrangers write, 2 3 clave or whatever, then you could start working with that rhythm. The other part is what you do, which is you some notes in that pattern are assigned to the octaves. Some notes are to fill the rest of the chord.
So
I,
I'm going to translate for the audience if they aren't musically inclined. You're talking about a clave, which is a particular thing, and you're talking about taking what you do and making sure it completes it. It's a complement. It's not a duplication. You're not trying to.
no,
Yeah, it's where is it? Does it fit in, and does it fit in tight? And there's different ways to fit it in, and you can have different effects by fitting it in different places. But then there's some that just aren't gonna sound good at all.
there's some that fight with the clave, and
Yeah.
or because that is my pattern from the piano, but I don't I don't have the drums here, but the 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 conga, the timbal, they all have that. For instance, I'm gonna give you the timbal has two main patterns. One which is called the cascara, where you hit the shell of and the pattern is ca 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 piano ca 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 con ki con kin con ca 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 ca.
Yeah.
Everything is locked, and that's what starts to give that is the mother is the pole that is keeping us all together.
Can you give us an example of a rhythm that would fight with the clave so we can see it?
For instance, if I start playing downbeats, well, I'm gonna give you this one because it's this one doesn't fight, but if you stay too long, you'll lose the band. It is a generic. A generic, I'm gonna do all upbeats. Pa pi pa 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 pi pa 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 pi pa 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 pi pa. If I stay there, eventually the percussionists are gonna say, "Where are we?" So in order for me to reaffirm where the clave is, I'm gonna bring the downbeat. Pa pi pa 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 pi pa 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 pi pa 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 pi pa 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 pam pi pam 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 pim, and immediately everyone is gonna feel it.
Yeah.
Every instrument has something similar to 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 adjust, but sometimes there are tunes that if you stay in the upbeats, it helps the music. So we're constantly, navigating in and out of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I just love learning about this. I wish I had a whole nother life to do this.
I'll pass you some information so you
That'd be nice. Be nice.
you can still do it.
Oh, but I might leave my family.
Yeah.
Oh well. Uh,